As dusk crept over the upscale neighborhood of Lake Forest in Chicago, Emma Miller stood by the window, leaning on the modern railing, gazing at the autumn foliage in her garden. At 35, Emma gently touched her slightly bulging belly, 5 months pregnant. Each realization of the tiny life within brought a serene happiness that made her momentarily forget the complicated relationships with her parents and sister. Emma closed her eyes, feeling memories rush in. The incident from her father's birthday party 2 years ago came back vividly. The grand party, held at the Baker family's luxurious house, celebrated her father Howard's 60th birthday. Titans of Chicago's real estate industry were invited, and champagne flowed freely. "Oh, Emma." Her mother Michelle approached in a flashy Chanel suit. "Did you buy that dress on sale at a department store?" The sarcasm was unmistakable. Emma's simple black dress was indeed from a department store, but it also represented her values. "Yes, I like it," she replied calmly. "Well, with your husband's salary, that's understandable." Michelle raised her voice so other guests could hear. "A small real estate firm's president is nothing compared to the people here." At that moment, her sister Charlotte interjected, draped in a Hermes dress with a clearly genuine diamond necklace. "Emma, it's rare to see you here." Charlotte's voice was tinged with mockery. "Usually, you avoid family gatherings, preferring a simple life." Emma just smiled silently. Charlotte worked as the sales director at their father's company, but her competence was questionable. Yet, her parents paid her a high salary and allowed her a lavish lifestyle. During the party, Emma overheard her father discussing with a client, "The future of Baker real estate rests on Charlotte." Howard boasted, "She's showing excellent skills as my successor." Emma couldn't help but smirk. She knew Charlotte's skills were nothing more than fancy entertaining and empty pleasantries. "Father," Emma approached, and Howard's expression stiffened momentarily. "Ah, Emma." He managed a formal smile. "You came today. Happy birthday," she said. "Ah." Howard responded curtly. "Is Jason working today?" "Yes, he's got an important case." "Well, being the president of a small company must be tough," Howard said sarcastically. "Well, the scale is just different from big corporations like ours." As the night ended, Michelle unexpectedly said to her, "Emma, I have to tell you something." Her face serious beneath thick makeup. "It's decided that Charlotte will inherit Howard's company. You have no say, having betrayed our family tradition and struck out on your own." Emma felt an ominous shadow behind those words but didn't pursue it. Then, a few weeks ago, for the first time since that party 2 years prior, Emma visited her parents to announce her pregnancy. But the events of that day left deep scars. Pregnant, Michelle looked surprised. "Really, with your living standards, child rearing will be challenging. We're preparing well," Emma maintained. "Preparing," Charlotte chimed in. "Your idea of preparation must be another simple lifestyle. Poor thing, that child." Emma endured silently. However, her father's final words were the last blow. "Emma," Howard said sternly, "do not give your child the Baker surname. I won't have you tarnish our family's tradition." Since that day, Emma had kept her interactions with her family to a minimum. She didn't answer phone calls or reply to emails. It wasn't mere defiance, but a choice to protect herself and her unborn child. Yet the shadow of her family still weighed heavily on her heart, especially when she heard rumors about the company run by her parents and Charlotte. It brought her an indescribable anxiety. On the surface, the company appeared to be thriving. However, within the industry, strange rumors persisted, unnatural transactions, opaque financial flows. Emma didn't know yet that these rumors were just the tip of the iceberg. But deep down, she had a sense that a significant truth was being hidden. "We were embarrassed at the wedding too," Michelle's voice echoed. "Such a modest wedding. It completely ruined the Baker family's reputation." Emma opened her eyes, memories of the past scattered with the autumn wind. "Are you feeling okay?" Jason's gentle voice came from behind her. He had just finished another busy day. As the CEO of a real estate development company, he constantly faced pressure, but he always made sure to check on Emma's well-being first when he came home. "Yes, perfect," Emma replied with a smile, turning around in her simple dress, unadorned with any luxurious accessories. Her lifestyle was a stark contrast to that of her ostentatious family back home. Suddenly, her smartphone rang, breaking the quiet moment. The screen displayed Mom, causing Emma's expression to stiffen. After 3 rings, she took a deep breath and answered the call. "Hello, Emma. I need to talk to you about your baby shower." Michelle's voice, always tinged with arrogance, came through. In the background, sound suggested she was at a high-end spa receiving a massage. "Next Saturday, I've arranged a celebration at La Maison d'Or at 7:30. Be there." La Maison d'Or, one of the most prestigious French restaurants in Chicago, known for its dishes costing hundreds of dollars each and impeccable service. Emma frowned involuntarily. Her family was always like this, caught up in appearances and what others thought. "Mom, it doesn't have to be somewhere that fancy." "Nonsense." Michelle's voice became sharp and forceful. "It's my first grandchild. It should be celebrated in a proper place. Or do you intend to stick to your usual modest ways as always?" Her words carried years of criticism towards Emma's lifestyle, disdain for her marriage to Jason, and dissatisfaction with everything she chose. Right after hanging up, a message from Charlotte arrived on Messenger. "Emma, make sure you come this time. It's sad you always avoid us. Mom and Dad are really worried about you." Emma stared at her smartphone screen, a bitter smile forming. Charlotte's hypocritical words always hid malice, looking down on Emma's decision to be independent. Jason quietly placed his hand on her shoulder. "You don't have to go if you don't want to. You don't need to listen to them." "Yes, I'll go," Emma said decisively. "I'm done running away. It might be time to settle everything." That night, Emma was in the study, flipping through an old album. Photos from 10 years ago, when she decided to leave a major corporation and go independent. Her parents mocked her decision, and Charlotte chose to stay with the family. "You won't be able to do anything. You'll just be a disgrace to our family," her mother had declared, words that still rang in her ears. The young Emma in the photos looked anxious. Yet, she didn't give up. That decision led her to the greatest happiness of her life, meeting Jason Miller. At that time, he was just a small real estate company president, but Emma was instantly drawn to his sincerity, his tireless work ethic, and most importantly, his attitude of judging people by their character and not by their appearance or status. Her parents and Charlotte didn't approve of the marriage. "What's the point of marrying someone from such a small real estate company?" Charlotte scoffed. But Emma was happy. Jason had steadily expanded his business, and now he was the CEO of a major real estate development company. Despite this, the couple continued to live modestly. They valued genuine happiness, unswayed by pretense or vanity. "Emma," Jason peeked his head through the study door. "Can you come here? I have something to discuss." There was a sense of determination in his voice. Emma closed the old album and quietly stood up, unaware that the upcoming events would greatly alter her life. La Maison d'Or stood majestically in a corner of Chicago's Gold Coast, a historic building exuding dignity. Its Art Deco exterior, reminiscent of the 1920s Golden Age, glimmered fantastically in the darkness of the night. As Emma stepped out of the taxi, she let out a deep sigh. Dressed in an elegant navy maternity dress, she blended perfectly into the restaurant's ambience. The clock showed 7:25. "Take care," the taxi driver said. "It seems like a place you might not prefer." Emma smiled faintly at his words. Indeed, such a lavish restaurant did not align with her values. But tonight, perhaps it was time to settle things with her family. As she opened the heavy brass door, soft light from the chandeliers cast delicate shadows on the marble floor. Gabriel, the floor manager, approached with a refined smile. "Are you part of the Baker family's party?" "Yes, that's us," Emma confirmed. "I'm sorry, but your party has already finished their meal." Emma felt her heart skip a beat. "Already? "But the reservation was for 7:30. Gabriel's expression clouded. "No, your reservation was for 6. At that moment, everything became clear. This was a setup. Emma took a deep breath to maintain her composure. "I'll show you to your table." Upon entering the main dining room, she saw the empty dishes and wine bottles carelessly left on the table. Her mother, Michelle, dressed in a Chanel tweed jacket, wore a superficial smile. Her father, Howard, sat uncomfortably in his chair, while her sister Charlotte smirked with her smartphone in hand. "Oh, Emma, you finally arrived." Michelle's voice contained feigned surprise. "We've already finished eating. We didn't expect you to be late." "Mom," Emma's voice was icy. "The reservation was supposed to be at 7:30. "Impossible," Charlotte exclaimed. "It was at 6. I made sure of it." Emma pulled out her smartphone and opened a message from Michelle. The text clearly stated, "Please come at 7:30. By the way, Michelle shifted the topic. "About the bill. We had to eat because you were late, even though we reserved this to celebrate your baby shower. So, you expect me to pay?" Emma cut her off. "Exactly," Charlotte interjected. "Since you were late." Emma glanced at the bill on the table. 4-course dinners, 2 bottles of expensive wine, additional desserts. The total exceeded $2,000. Just then, calm footsteps approached from the restaurant entrance. "Sorry to keep you waiting." Jason's voice came through. In his navy suit, he approached the table with an air of dignity. "Oh, Jason," Michelle's tone suddenly sweetened. "Glad you could join us." However, following Jason was the restaurant's owner, Chef Louise Martin. As he appeared, Michelle's face froze. "Mrs. Baker," Louise began in a solemn voice, "thank you for visiting the flagship restaurant of Miller Hospitality Group today." "Miller Hospitality Group?" Charlotte's voice trembled. "Yes," Jason calmly replied. "It's my company. I manage 5 upscale restaurants in Chicago, including Le Maison d'Or." The faces of the 3 at the table paled as they realized that the small real estate firm president they had looked down upon was actually the owner of a luxury restaurant group. And, Jason continued, "All records of today's reservation and surveillance footage are kept as evidence of intentional time tampering and fraudulent billing." Michelle grabbed her handbag with trembling hands. Howard's face turned pale, and Charlotte almost dropped her phone. "This is just a misunderstanding," Howard desperately started to explain. "It's not a misunderstanding, Father." Jason's voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp. "This is premeditated fraud, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. We are also thoroughly investigating your past actions." Emma stood by her husband, watching her family's faces crumble. Years of vanity and deceit were finally coming to an end. Outside the window, the Chicago skyline shone mercilessly. The atmosphere in the private dining room was heavy. The chandelier's light mercilessly illuminated the faces around the table. Jason quietly placed a black leather briefcase on the table. "There's something I want you to see." The snap of the lock echoed unnaturally loud. Michelle's heavily made-up face contorted. Howard wiped sweat from his brow with his aged hands, and Charlotte, still clutching her phone, was frozen. "This is Baker Real Estate's transaction records for the past 5 years. Jason pulled out a document. "Very interesting content, Father." "What are you talking about?" Howard's voice shook. "False transactions, fake invoicing, and..." Jason showed another document. "Multiple illegal loans." Emma gasped. She hadn't realized just how corrupt her father's company was. Jason continued. "Since the 2008 real estate crisis, your company has been effectively bankrupt. Yet, you continued a lavish lifestyle, maintaining appearances. All the funds came from illicit sources." "Be quiet," Michelle suddenly shouted. "What do you know? We have a social standing to protect. To maintain that, we had to." "Are you saying that fraud was necessary?" Emma interjected. "Is that why you've looked down on me all these years?" "You," Charlotte stood up, "living a modest life. You're a disgrace to our family. You don't understand anything." Emma's voice remained calm. "Jason, also about Charlotte." Jason pulled out another document. "Charlotte Baker. Here are the findings of an investigation into your divorce and current financial situation." Charlotte's face turned pale. "You've been divorced for 6 months?" The title of sales director at your father's company was a lie. Emma relentlessly continued. "The actual sales are 0. You just take a salary and leech off your parents." "Stop." Charlotte broke down in tears. "I was desperate. After the divorce, I had nothing. But I didn't want anyone to know, especially not you, who seem to live a perfect life." "Perfect," Emma scoffed. "I've just been living honestly. Enough is enough." Michelle raised her voice again. "We have been protecting the pride of our family." "Emma, you wouldn't understand." "Pride," Jason coldly retorted. "Take a look at this." A new document was presented. Michelle's personal bank account transactions. "Mrs. Baker, you have been using funds embezzled from your husband's company to attend several high-end spas and beauty clinics, and you've been adding on to all these expenses." "Be quiet." Michelle covered her ears with her hands. "A newcomer like you has no right to criticize our way of life." "A newcomer? I have at least built my business honestly, without any illicit means. And the reason you've looked down on me," Emma stood up, "was just jealousy. Because I achieved success on my own. Because I didn't get caught up in pretense and vanity like you did." "Emma," Howard spoke with a trembling voice, "we were thinking of your best interest." "Lies." Emma's voice echoed. "You have lived for your own pride. You never really cared about me or this child." She gently touched her stomach. She was determined not to let her child be tainted by their world of deceit. "What do you intend to do now?" Jason asked quietly. "We can submit all this evidence to the authorities." Howard turned pale. "No, not that." Charlotte sobbed. "Please stop. We can't fall any further." "Fall?" Emma said coldly. "You've been falling for a long time. You just refuse to see it." The chandelier's light mercilessly illuminated the documents on the table. The pile of evidence told the weight of years of lies and deception. "You have 24 hours, Jason declared. "Decide what you will do about this situation. If we don't have an answer by then, we will take legal action." Michelle reached out to her daughter. "Emma, surely you wouldn't turn against your own family. We're no longer family. As of today, it's all over. Goodbye." Emma and Jason left the room, leaving the 3 Baker family members staring blankly after them. Only the remnants of a shattered family remained in the private room of the upscale restaurant. Outside, the Chicago skyline continued to shine beautifully, but its glow no longer reached their hearts. Sunlight streamed into the solemn courtroom. Emma, 6 months pregnant, sat next to Jason in the spectators section. The courtroom was tense, and the prosecutor's voice carried. The trial for fraud, forgery, and embezzlement against Howard Baker, Michelle Baker, and Charlotte Baker will now begin. The 24-hour grace period had passed without any contact from the Baker family. Instead, they had tried to destroy the evidence. But this only worsened their situation. Regarding systemic fraudulent transactions at Baker Real Estate, the prosecutor began. The defendants conducted fraudulent transactions exceeding $5 million since 2008. Emma looked at the backs of the 3 sitting in the dock. Their former glamorous appearance was gone. Her father looked exhausted, her mother's face was makeup-free and downturned, and Charlotte clutched a handkerchief with trembling hands. Evidence was presented one after another. Records of fraudulent loans, evidence of doctored financial statements, and the planned fraud at the restaurant. All were brought to light. Furthermore, defendant Michelle Baker has personally misappropriated over $1 million from company funds, the courtroom murmured. Michelle covered her face with both hands. Defendant Charlotte Baker reported fictitious sales figures, received undue salaries, and fraudulently obtained benefits and economic gains through false declarations during her divorce. Charlotte's shoulders shook slightly. The defense's counterarguments sounded hollow, The defendants made unavoidable choices to maintain their social status. Objection. The prosecutor interrupted. Maintaining social status does not justify committing crimes. Objection sustained. The judge declared sternly, Jason's testimony as a witness was decisive, starting with the incident at the restaurant and culminating in the results of a long-term investigation. He meticulously described the full extent of the fraud. Baker Real Estate appeared to be a successful company, but in reality, it was completely insolvent. The defendants engaged in a series of illicit actions to conceal this fact. As Emma listened to Jason's testimony, she resolved in her heart that this was not about revenge. It was about justice, necessary measures to put an end to years of lies and deception. In the afternoon court session, the verdicts were delivered. Defendant Howard Baker, 5 years in prison. Defendant Michelle Baker, 3 years in prison. And Defendant Charlotte Baker, 2 years in prison with 4 years suspended. Furthermore, they were ordered to return the ill-gotten gains and pay substantial fines. Baker Real Estate was liquidated. The mansion was seized, and all assets were frozen. After the verdict, Michelle became distraught. Emma, are you really going to send your own mother to prison? You should remember, you emotionally abused your own daughter. Are you satisfied with ruining our lives? Charlotte shouted. It was your own actions that ruined your lives, Jason calmly stated. As Emma left the courtroom, she didn't look back. Spring sunlight bathed the courthouse steps. Are you okay? Jason asked gently. Yes. Now, our child can grow up in a world without lies and deceit. The streets of Chicago were bustling as usual, but something significant had changed inside Emma. This was not an end, but a new beginning. 3 years later, in the peaceful neighborhood of Lake Forest, Emma stood by the window, watching her 2-year-old daughter Ashley play in the garden. The autumn evening and swirling leaves resembled the scene from 3 years ago, but everything had changed. Mommy, look, Ashley held up a drawing. I drew flowers. That's lovely. Emma smiled. Jason appeared from the study. Emma, about your mother. Michelle Baker has been released from the Illinois State Prison. According to a friend, the once graceful figure had turned into a tired old woman. Her post-release life looked bleak, with most assets seized and no prospects for reintegration into society. Does it bother you? Jason asked gently. No, I just feel it's karma. Emma responded, pulling a letter from a drawer. It was a letter from Charlotte, received a week ago. Charlotte, who received a suspended sentence, was living a modest life in a small town. The letter contained words of apology and a plea for reconciliation, but Emma had no intention of responding. Hey, Jason hugged her from behind. What are you thinking about? That we made the right choice. We cut off relations built on falsehoods and chose true happiness. The Miller Hospitality Group had grown even more in the past 3 years, yet they maintained a simple lifestyle. Luxury and pretense were unnecessary. True happiness lay much deeper. Any regrets? Jason asked from behind. Not one. We chose to live honestly, and that's what led to our current happiness. Emma reflected on a story she heard from a friend about a guard in the prison. Howard Baker, once called the real estate king of Chicago, initially maintained his arrogant demeanor in prison. However, faced with a reality where he received no special treatment, he gradually lost his sanity, muttering every night in his cell, I am a big shot. Don't you know who I am? He became a laughingstock among other inmates. The family that chose to live in falsehood and deceit paid the price, but Emma had chosen a different path, one of honesty and integrity, which built her current happiness. With deep satisfaction and hope for the future, Emma felt content.